a Dragon's Gate reading, and I'm not sure. See, I've been pondering and pondering and pondering whether part of the delay in doing this reading has been because I got maybe the start date wrong, or maybe because I'm sensing more towards the peak. I'm not sure, because it really did feel like Dragon's Gate already started, but it could be sort of a pre-shadow thing, like with Mercury retrograde, and have a post-shadow thing. Having a lot of throat chakra stuff today, so don't mind that. But what I'm definitely sensing is we had some big kickoff emotionally in terms of, like, I think facing our own, like, ourselves as the dragon, so to speak, ourselves as the beast, and learning to get ourselves to the place of beauty within ourselves. And it feels like then, so that would have been 4/4/2021, and definitely that day. And then the next date coming up is 4/7/2021, which is another day that brings up the Justice card and karma, and it's when we have the new moon in Aries, which will be the first official new moon of the new astrological year. And so we'll have Sun in Aries and Moon in Aries. So very similar to having 4/4 on the day 4/4, we'll have 4/4 as in the Emperor energy, the fourth card, twice on 4/7. We could also see that when you add 2021, it becomes a 16 day. And so we have Justice and Towers. And it feels like a combination. Like, a lot of times we interpret towers as, you know, they're always these big knockdown, mood quake kind of moments, phoenix moments. They're not always. Sometimes there's. I try to talk about it more and more, but like if you look at the top of the tower card, you can see that there is lightning striking the top of it, and a crown is flying off. And what that is meant to symbolize is like enlightenment, epiphanies, things like that. And so it feels like, depending on where you are on your healing journey and what timelines you have chosen to line up with, that this energy coming in, I want to say it's probably going to peak on 4/7. So today is, I think it's 4/6. It's funny. So today is 4/6. So from now until tomorrow, you've probably already been having this happen. Hello, Malaysia. Sorry, the sun is kind of in my way. I had to, it's like coming right across where the messages are. In any case, it feels like this energy's probably already been building in this epiphanies and tower moments, and kind of reconstructing. It's been that moment before the reset. And you know what? Maybe I'll change the name of this to that later. I was trying to think of a name based on the cards that I drew as kind of some overall energy, and I went with what I went with, but I might change it to the Great Reset, which is an energy that we kind of experienced last, like, well, actually, what's funny is it was most of the year. It started around February 2020. That's good. See? Yeah. But either way, like, we're hitting that reset energy, and so it's like a lot of epiphanies, a lot of tower moments. Some are big, some are small. Many of them are about like restructuring situations. If you've been more conscious to the journey that you've been on, you may have been intentionally allowing some towers to fall that maybe you'd been holding up, or you stopped holding up other people's, towers, and they fell down because you weren't holding them up, and they had to see that. That was like, they can't expect you to keep holding up the tower, especially by yourself. They want a good tower, they need to build their own tower, and preferably on a stronger foundation. And it feels like maybe because of these things happening, when we hit this Aries energy, we're going to see a lot more epiphanies. I think especially from the masculine collective, divine masculine, unawakened masculine, just all of them. I think there's going to be a lot more aha moments in there. But you're also likely to see some of that if you're in your own, not masculine energy per se, but if you're feeling this Aries time to do stuff kind of energy. And it's funny, I was just thinking about, also we have, I know that today, and following through the next couple of days, we have a small trine, which is a triangle between Saturn, Jupiter, and another planet that is very significant, and it hits with our nodes of fate, which are, it's on the Sagittarius Gemini axis. So there's definitely, I mean, there's some push and pull between there, and Sagittarius is really great energy to be mixed in with these energies going on, because it's funny. It's about internal and external exploration. Like in a house, I put the ninth house as like the kind of the library with a like an altar on it, and like that space where you're really exploring your inner depths, where you might have a conversation with your inner counselor, sort of thing, or counsel if you're like a type 6 enneagram. um, and that energy is really nice with this energy of letting towers fall, and I don't want to say making towers fall, but like just letting them happen, letting things just kind of fall over, I mean, and looking at the pieces and being like, what is it that I want to keep this piece? Do I want to keep that piece? Is this piece going to get me, what are my overall goals in life, inside and outside of relationships? And will this relationship help me get to that one? Will this one help me get to that one? Where will it go if I choose this one? It kind of feels like I'm thinking of a scene in the Labyrinth where there's the big rock heads and it's like, which way, right? Like it feels kind of like that energy, which is fitting because one of the Rider-Waite cards we got was the Hermit. I almost called him the Hermes, which is interesting, very mercurial. I want to say if you and or someone you're thinking about has been rather hermit-like since any significant Mercury retrogrades from like the last one to the first of 2020, or maybe even like the last few of 2019, if somebody went very hermit when talking to you, had communication issues, things like that, the stuff going on with Dragon's Gate may be specific to either you or them, or you and them. Either way, I want to say this is funny though, because I went to go and draw cards, right? And every once in a while I'll notice that there will be one card from one of my decks that is in a place it should not normally be. It'll be like in front of a different deck, and I know that I put it in there specifically. It's not really even a big deal, but that usually tells me that those cards are significant to see. And I had it happen twice with this. I had it happen with my Rider-Waite deck and then my homophone cards, and I haven't pulled out my homophone cards in a while. And so I decided, you know what, I'm going to go with that. Like, I know that the last time I had the deck out, I was shuffling it, and I was just pulling some cards for myself, but like I shuffled it even since then and had put it away. So I'm like going, okay, I'm just going to take these two cards. And they were both, one was upside down on the deck. It was the Hermit. So like if the rest of the deck was facing this way, it was like that. And the other card was sitting in front of another deck. So I'm taking them in the order that I found them, which was the Hermit and then the Knight of Pentacles. And for those of you that are, I suppose, interested in learning some tarot, you can think about, what does the order of this make you think about? Like, and you can put them, if they feel like they're in a different order for you, like maybe they're like this, that's okay. But if you have it in this way, and you're starting with the Hermit and going to the Knight of Pentacles, like, what does that make you think about? Like, what kind of story would these cards tell? And for me, what it tells me is that the Hermit is emerging into a Knight of Pentacles, which is good. It's somebody who's really been introspective, and they may still be a little bit. Just because it's Dragon's Gate does not necessarily mean you are going to see the direct results of things going on, though you will most likely feel them, especially with anybody you're really super connected with. And because it's a Knight of Pentacles, well, because it's a knight in general, I'm assuming messages, communication, like this Hermit. It's funny because the Hermit card is related to Virgo, which actually, now that I think about it, is very fitting if I was going to call him the Hermes. But he reminds me of Cancer energy, kind of like that when you go into your shell, sort of thing, and you're just thinking about a lot of things, and you're dealing with some emotional injuries, or you're trying to give an appearance of being more mature, more kind than you have been. And I don't know, just looking at the energy that I got off of it is that this hermit is tired of being in hermit energy. They've learned what they can learn from whatever situation they've been hiding in or hiding from, and they're ready to talk. And it's in a more of a grounded way. Some of it may be related to money, and this person has likely been unbearably slow. And you may have felt like your life has been unbearably slowed down, like perfectionism and procrastination and things like that. And this is good too because, like, it's funny, the hermit card of all of the colors on here, they make the most striking ones the yellow, which is the power chakra, the sacral chakra, the third chakra, and that's the dominant color on there too. So I'm really feeling that this Dragon's Gate, like a lot of this, it's almost like if you imagine the hermit to be somebody who would go into a cave, and maybe they were just going in there to, wow, yeah, this feels right as a metaphor. I don't know why, but they go into a cave to find enlightenment, and what they find is a dragon. And they go in there, and that dragon says, "No, you cannot leave. You must stay here and feed me, and bring me things, and play with me, and entertain me." And so I don't know if any of you are dealing with, well, either twin flame situations or karmic situations with somebody that was kind of it makes me think of a Little Shop of Horrors, the big fly catcher that's like, "Feed me, Seymour, feed me," and he just keeps going and going and wanting more and more and growing and growing. And so it might very well be that you and those around you, because this is a collective reading, are in a space of recognizing the beings around us that we have allowed to, like, make us feel like they were too helpless to feed themselves, to get their own thing, and then they became a monster of sorts, because we didn't set up healthy boundaries. We didn't put enough focus on ourselves, and we were overgiving, and we allowed ourselves to let them believe they could treat us that way. And it became that, "Feed me, Seymour, feed me." And then by the time that we said no, they were big, scary, strong monsters, right? And then we had to really just like chop it down, which I think was probably a lot of these tower moments that had been coming in, is like this, "Oh shit, like I let a monster feed itself on me. I'm not going to do that anymore." I'm going to. And I have been seeing a fair amount of that in the collective in multiple ways. Like anybody that has been really pulling on others without, I want to say, appropriate reciprocity, not as in a transactional sense, just in a healthy human being sense. I think that that's where all relationships have some amount of like transaction in a way, but that it should be voluntary. It should be consensual. It should be just because you want it to be, you and they want that. If it's not like that, then like forcing it isn't going to help. Trying to like level things up isn't going to help. And sometimes you get yourself into a situation where you've got patterns with other people to where they are so used to being able to push your buttons or flip a switch or pinch you in the right place, and either you give in, maybe they give you the silent treatment, or maybe they subtext online, or maybe they go through other people to try to get you to do things, or maybe they try to accuse you of all the things that they're doing. Whatever it is, like they've had ways of both making you feel like they don't understand or they can't understand, and that they need you to just keep feeding the beast. Just shut up and keep feeding me. And I think all of those sort of relationships. Hello, Leora. Yeah, and what's funny is we used to call it, my DM and I used to call it the wash cycle, and we got that from couples counseling. And we did get into a wash cycle of it. Spirit's been teaching me a whole lot about it this year. I've actually been really enjoying it because it's been alongside seeing multiple other loops and wash cycles. And I've come to call it a spiral cycle, And because we've got all these multiple spirals, and they don't ever, like, they're never the same repeatable cycle, but they are still a cycle. And most humans that I've been observing have, they don't move very fast. You know, they don't, like, from one year to the next, let's say, from the start of Aries season to, you know, the ending with Pisces season, most people's lives have not changed all that much from wherever they were in the beginning. Yeah, see, yes, yes, there's, yeah. You'll notice others that you get intertwined with. A lot of times it's not that they won't get out of the loop. That's an important thing to recognize. It's that they're moving very slowly. And see, we did get that Knight of Pentacles in there, right? They're moving very slowly. And everybody does it, even unconscious, unawakened people, they move very slowly. And if they're not aware, I think that's really where, when you start getting into being conscious of all of these spiral cycles and stuff, you get into this place where you're like, why are you still doing the old cycle? Why are you still in that loop, right? And that's part of what I'll refer to sometimes as the other dimension too. Like, there's more to it than that. But a lot of times when we get stuck in a loop, we're in the other dimension. Or sorry, in another dimension. I had to, spirit corrected me on that the other day. It used to be more like of a duality of like this dimension, that dimension, but this year, especially the Aquarius energy, is all about many new dimensions, you know, of all levels, high, low, left, right, etc. But everybody moves, everybody's moving. Sometimes, yes, we do get in kind of a Knight of Pentacles reverse or a Hanged Man reverse sort of thing, but usually it's for a reason. Like, we had a ton of retrogrades last year that really brought, like, I mean, we've not had that many retrogrades, I think, in a couple hundred years. And a lot of it was in Capricorn energy. And what that did is it brought us into all of our oldest, like, cruddiest, most shadowiest cycles with ourselves, with everybody else, all of that. And it, like, really showed us what we've been doing over, like, say, the last 20 years or more. And as a society, and as individuals in our relationships. And it feels like coming into this Dragon's Gate is kind of that, like, we've recognized the beasts that we have allowed ourselves to sit with. And you might even, it's funny to, like, you might even have noticed that you can soothe the savage beast, right? That you can, you could go in and make it better, you could be sweet, you could rebuild the tower, you could do the cycle or the loop again, but you're like, I don't want to do that. And part of that is, you know, if you know of somebody who's been in loops, you know, in the Hermit, because the Hermit broods, you know, they brood, they reminisce, they keep things going around in their minds, and they, you know, they examine things, they observe things, they don't move very quickly, but they can often be in loops. And it's connected to Virgo energy. And I love my Virgos, though they happen in the unevolved or low energy side of Virgo, can often be kind of this OCD quality, especially in thought. And that can be emphasized if you have, like, Mercury or Mars in Virgo also. Just fun fact on there. Sometimes with the Virgo moon, it depends. But either way, it can be this, like, constantly cycling around in their minds, trying to get counsel from their, you know, the collection of voices that they have going on in their minds. One's probably their mother, and there's their father, another maybe you, or their kids, or their bosses, or whatever it is, and they're ruminating. That's the word looking for it. They ruminate on things. And the funny thing is that we are on that plane with them, whether we're twin flames or karmics or soulmates or nothing in there, or not nothing, but you know what I mean, whether it's a less significant connection, we still get caught in those loops with them, to where we're continually thinking about what they're thinking about, and like, why are they moving? Why are they moving so slowly? You know what I mean? Why are they in that cycle? When are they going to get out of that cycle? And I think the good news is that because we are choosing to get out of our own hermit energy, our own cycle, our own observing of the slowest night in the deck, that's going to allow that night, whether it be money coming into you or you making healthier choices or someone else opening up in communication, things like that. That's funny. The song on the radio is was it Just My Imagination by the Temptations? Just my imagination, which fits in with the energy that I was picking up on when I was doing some daily vibes the last couple of days. Is that's very like it's very likely that this hermit-like person is going to come in with a more grounded offer. And it's the nice thing about seeing the Knight of Pentacles, because we've seen a lot of energy over the last year of kind of Knight of Wands, Knight of Swords kind of thing, this fast in and out energy, emotions and sexuality coming in there. There's been a fair amount of like cups energy, and to have this Knight of Pentacles energy in here with the Hermit is very grounded. It's very much, I've thought about it, I've been thinking about it. I didn't just one day decide that this was what I was going to say. I've been thinking about it and I've taken my time. And the hard part is, I know kind of, I was going to say universally, that doesn't feel like the right word. Collectively, we have been getting into a space of really thinking about our choices, like especially any major leaps of faith that we've had to have made, either to get out of a loop or cycle, or to just have it better for ourselves. And collectively, we're learning that whole was it a watch pot doesn't boil, or watch kettle doesn't boil. And by getting into a more grounded energy about focusing, like you may find yourself focusing more on your pentacles. And I always, everybody's connected. So whether you're in a twin flame journey or not, or you're talking about friends or family, everybody does something that is reflective. Anybody who's around you, who's in your vibration, and that includes people you're thinking about, even if it's somebody who had been very hermit, or had been very Knight of Pentacles reversed, or Knight of Swords, just in and out and feisty and bratty and all that stuff. We are all reflective of them in some way. And if we've allowed the towers to fall around the giant Venus flycatchers? Isn't that what they're called? The Feed Me Seymour, Feed Me being? I think it's a Venus flycatcher. But those, like, that we've allowed to grow and just, like, insatiably take from us, if we've allowed the towers to fall on that, and we've decided not to pick up the pieces of that and to rebuild it. Because I know a lot of you are very kind-hearted, and you're probably usually the peacekeepers. Thank you, Venus flytrap. It's funny to have the Venus connection in there too. In any case, I know a lot of you are likely the types that would usually go in and fix it. I know I am. Like, you could go in and be like, all right, enough of this nonsense, let's play nice. And like, over the last year, you've probably been catching a lot of observations of your own cycles and other people's cycles, and getting into a place where now, in this Dragon's Gate energy, that Hermit is bringing you the knowledge that you don't have to participate in the old cycle anymore. That while most people, yes, they do, see, Taurus, that while most people do move pretty casually into their next cycles, you can decide to do it differently. Sometimes you still have to do the small steps, or still steps kind of thing, like little by little, remove a few pictures there, talk a little bit less, go a little bit longer during the day in a new exercise routine, or slowly start changing your eating habits. Like, sure, if you've been drinking mostly only soda, you might have a hard time just jumping right into water all the time. But if you go away from soda into juice, and you do that for a little while, then you can start doing juice and water, and then you can do more water than juice, and then you could do a little bit of the healthy squirty stuff that you can flavor your water with, and then get away from that, and then you're drinking water most of the day. And you can like little steps can get you there. And I think a lot of times, especially over the last year, we've been dealing with this overall energy, attachment, card number 5. We've been trying to kind of make these like giant leaps from having a deep attachment with someone, healthy or unhealthy, likely unhealthy, but regardless of what the reasoning for it was. And we've been jumping in and out of those attachments, trying to go from very attached to completely unattached. And that's not usually doable because we're emotional beings. It's not that it's not logical. There are plenty of times that, yes, you know you should stop talking to someone. Yes, you know that you should give them some space. Yes, you know you should ask for a promotion or quit a job or fix a situation with your kids or your family. You know that you should do these things, but we spend more time, I think, psyching ourselves out in our minds about the thing that we want to do that we know, or well, we probably don't want to do it, but the thing that we know that we need to do in order to get what we want, in order to get the physical 3D manifestation of the thing or the person that we want. There's something that we need to do. And I think that was kind of our dragons. That is our dragons. And so you may be watching this later and not quite have hit this energy yet. It's okay. But I think the emphasis on the new moon tomorrow in Aries is going to be kind of that illumination, because we have the sun and the moon both in Aries. So the illumination on some sort of area where we've had our dragons, that one thing that you've had a really hard time doing all year. Maybe not the one thing. It could be 2 or 3 things, but they're big things. It could be ending attachments. It probably, in fact, I'm just going to say, instead of going for a bunch of different things, this is very much to do with relationships. It doesn't have to be romantic relationships, but attachments. Now, not all attachments are bad. Like if you have children, you have attachments with them. That's not a bad thing, clearly. But how is your attachment to them? You know, is it healthy? Is it stable? Do they feel safe telling you that they're mad at you? Do you apologize to them on a regular basis? Do you have fun with them? Do you play with them in these beautiful years that they have that you're not going to get to go back from and do differently? And you know, it's funny. I was going to say, I think that we're going to be working on our own inner child stuff in there. That's very true, especially with the Aries energy, because it is the infant of the zodiac. But I think that actually for those of you watching this, it's very likely that you're already in a timeline where you've worked on a lot of inner child stuff from this last year. And this is that point where you get the reset to be able to have those connections healthier. And with the attachment card, it's kind of like the devil card in that the woman on the card, yes, she's got a chain in her arm and it's going to a pillar and whatnot, but it's actually loose. She could disconnect it at any time, just like the creatures or not the creatures, I don't know, they're kind of human, kind of demon. They're usually got tails and horns and stuff. The humanoid creatures on the devil card, they're not actually trapped. In fact, the torch in the card usually is meant to show illumination that you can see, because otherwise it would be completely dark and you couldn't see anything. They can, if they would stop looking at other things, they could look and see that they could easily untie each other, right? And it's the same thing with the Hanged Man. The Hanged Man puts himself in that position to hang upside down, to learn something, to gain a new perspective. And he ties loosely a little bit of rope around his leg. He puts himself in a little bit of bondage, so he has to hang there and just let everything drip down to his head while he stares in the well of wisdom and figures out whatever it was that he was having trouble figuring out. It's chosen bondage. Now, there are definitely times when the bondage we choose is not, it wasn't what we thought it would be, right? We didn't think that far ahead, or the other people involved in the attachment changed, or we simply needed to go through a detour to learn some things in order to have a better connection with ourselves and with loved ones and things like that. Now, because the card is an upright, what it's saying is that so if it was reversed, the attachments would already be released. But in upright, it's, saying that attachments are being released, that we're seeing our attachments, we're seeing where we've trapped ourselves in various situations. Where the word precarious came up, which is one of my favorite words to use. But we've put ourselves on these tightropes effectively, or gymnast beams, to where if we don't carefully balance this way or that way, then we'll fall off. And then we gotta, let's say every time you fall off, you gotta go start at the other end. And if it's a tightrope rather than a gymnast beam, it could be really high up there. So falling down and then having to go back up that ladder, it might seem a little more daunting. Now, that depends on what timeline you're on. This could be somebody that you're thinking about, or it could be you doing either the balance beam or the tightrope. I'd imagine if you're releasing attachments and you're not feeling quite as emotionally challenged about it, you're probably more on the balance beam. Whereas if you're interacting with or waiting for, or you've cut off temporarily somebody who has been very, very emotional, especially as you have started to release those attachments, they're probably on the tightrope. And I'm not saying, like, definitely don't undo your boundaries, but just have a little bit of extra empathy, because you've been there too. It's funny, the song on the radio, Kiss Me by Sixpence None the Richer, and I'm laughing because I was getting ready to hold up these two cards, which were the homophone cards that set themselves apart from the rest. And we have Some, and it's got a pile of jelly beans, and Night. Some Night. I mean, I'm still not 100% sure if this should be like a specific, there will, like, maybe tomorrow night will be some night. Or maybe it's about a night that you can remember. Actually, it's funny, look at that. We have 2 night cards. And on the back, look at that, night. And because of the hermit connotation in there too, it might be that there will be more nighttime communication coming in. You may be talking to others more at night. They may be talking more to you at night. Or you might be having more dream time communication too. That can be a way that you can start to notice something manifesting. And some of that is just you working things out in your brain. But there is a fair amount of that is actually spirit telling you this stuff is being worked out. And actually sometimes it's simply as easy as letting it be worked out in your sleep. Do it the easy way, right? Now, this Some card reminds me, because it's got jelly beans on it, and we just had Easter, I feel like it may have been that Easter was some night. I mean, maybe that's a night that you put your foot down, or maybe you put your foot down before that, and it changed the way that Easter was for you this year, or changed the way that it was for someone else. Though I also feel like somehow this is connected back to like a past night. You might remember what it is. It might be related to the Kiss Me song, the Sixpence None the Richer. Maybe there was some night that you remembered that had to do with a kiss, that had to do with some sweetness, that had to do, maybe it was last year around this time, or just before this time, or just after, but there was some night that was really significant, and it really caused, it could, if you're in a separation from somebody, whether familial or platonic or romantic, it may be that the night maybe there was a night that caused that to happen, like that kicked that off, the last straw. It could be to do with that, or it could be to do with a night that a kiss was involved. It could be to do with, I feel like if you've had communication from somebody, how do I even put it? Okay, the spiral cycles thing. I've been meaning to go through, hello Vina, I've been meaning to go through and do another divine nugget about this, but I suppose I'll try hashing some of this out now. So Spirit gave me a bit of more information too about the spiral cycles and loops, because a lot of people have been observing their own loops and other people's loops and things like that, and noticing they don't always go in a linear order. And it was what came to mind was like Pulp Fiction, the way that movie is. You start with the ending, and then you go sort of towards the beginning, but then you weave your way in and out of the story. It's not linear at all, and you usually have to watch that movie 3 or 4 times to even understand the wholeness of the movie, and then by the end you get back to the end, which was the beginning. And it's similar to the movie Big Fish also. It's like it makes sense once you've really taken it in, but it doesn't actually, like, it's not a spiral cycle as in it goes like that. Like it does go like that when you look at it over time. When you look at it from the eagle eye view or the hawk's eye view, you can see over time how this stuff works. But you may have been noticing stuff coming up, especially over this last year, where like maybe you went back to a former version of yourself, or someone else went back to a former version of themselves, or they went back with an ex that was like way at the beginning for them, or or you did, or you had people come in that were part of like different parts of the cycle of your life, that like if you had been looking at, okay, this is the way that last year's cycles went, and expecting it to go specifically in that same sort of order, it didn't. It went, I mean, it did, but it didn't. It like went here, and it seemed like it came over here, and then went over there, and then came down here, and went over there. But now, during, this Dragon's Gate energy, especially with the element of the Tower card on the new moon, we're going to be seeing how we're seeing that it is actually a linear sort of ish spiral cycle. It's just that you have to be able to see that. You have to be able to see how each thing connects to come over here. And it's like it's like if you were looking at a rainbow, but if you got like a microscope and you could somehow, I don't know, scoop up a bit of rainbow. You can really can't, but let's say that you could, and when you got close to it, you could see that each little bar was actually made out of almost like a lot of Celtic knotwork sort of stuff, sort of like this. It's all connected, but there's layers upon layers upon layers. And so it feels like there may have been a couple of nights that have occurred over especially the last 1 to 2 years, where some significant things happened. It may have even been this kind of stuff that gave you hope when you didn't have any, or you didn't know what to have or what to do. And it feels like that night is coming back in. I don't know if that's going to be tomorrow, or like where that energy is going, but something. If there's some sort of a return of a very significant night. Sorry, I'm getting lots of images even of my own, like, well, how many nights are significant? Either way, it feels like it's something you're partially going to expect and not expect at the same time. And especially if you're working on releasing, holding on to the loops of things, like getting out of looking for the signs and the signals and the synchronicities and stuff, you're more likely to get into that energy of joyful amazement and to be able to see the stuff coming in. But you're still not likely going to like expect it. You're going to be like, oh, it'd be kind of like one of those moments where it's like, oh, I should have seen that coming. Not in a bad way necessarily. Well, maybe. You know what? I think both energies are there. There are going to be some things that are like, well, I should have seen that coming, as in, like, it keeps coming in different ways. It feels like if you've been working on a lot of your healing, those moments will be smaller. You'll be less surprised because you've been paying attention to the cycles and learning them enough to where you feel safe not constantly observing them, and you'll be like, yeah, all right, I could have seen that coming. Like that was part of something of my cycle, or something of another person's cycle, or that was one of the things that I thought was going to happen. Though if you're on a lower time, not lower timeline, if you're on a less healed, less aware cycle, and you're coming out of that in this Dragon's Gate energy, that's where you're really you've seen the dragon, you're facing the dragon, you've laid down the boundaries of where you will. It's funny, it's not where the dragon will go, but it's how far you will go towards the dragon, like, dragon, if you're gonna constantly be demanding that I feed you all the time, and you're not gonna play with me in return, then I'm not gonna play with you. I'm gonna go into the forest and play by myself, whatever it is. But there might be more of that shit. I should have seen that coming. Sort of things like finding out that somebody cheated on you and you'd caught them in a whole bunch of lies before, and so you really should have known, but you were pushing it out of your head. You were holding on to the attachment for whatever reason. Maybe you thought that it would, or somebody you're thinking of, maybe they thought that everybody would look at them really crappy if they released that attachment, or maybe there was some sort of a either a past life karmic thing to be worked out, or something, if they're with somebody who they knew when they were younger, maybe something emotionally to be released in that, some sort of attachment. And it's likely that because they have been trying to push away from really doing their healing work, or if this is you, that you've been like resisting doing that work, these attachments, spirits now coming in and really like amping up the truth of them and saying, look, this is what you're doing, this is what you're choosing, this is what you're choosing. If you choose to stay in a situation with somebody that we've clearly shown you a ton of red flags about, you're just going to feel stuck. You're going to feel stuck. This is not something you want to move forward in. And it's giving us a chance to remove our masks, and if we don't, it's going to remove them anyways, and everybody else is going to see them. Kind of like some of the energy I was picking up on last year that was very much this, what is it? Like, if you don't clean out the skeletons in your closet, Spirit's going to drag them out for you and lay them on the floor where everybody can see them. And so it's kind of one of those, if you don't take the mask off yourself and be authentic and be genuine and be like, this is who I am. There's that song, This Is Me, right? You come out with your beards, you come out with your flaws, you come out with your mistakes and regrets, and also your achievements and things that have worked out really well for you. Just saw 41:14 on the clock, so somebody's reflecting that. We before I shuffle a little bit more and pull some cards for, I think, each sign. I'll just do one card right at weight for each sign. We do have the backing energy in the shadow card position of the Angel of Strength. And so that gives us 2 5 cards also, and it brings us into that Wheel of Fortune energy, that divine timing. So if you're feeling like you're able to unattach from situations that have not been great for you, and especially if you're not feeling resentful about doing so, that's likely because it's 2 things. You have strong, benevolent angels who are helping you come out of the beast situation and get into your angelic side, so to speak, your higher self, your 5D self. And I want to say that for those of you that are getting there, that are feeling good, like you're good about releasing attachments. You don't wish ill on others. Yes, you may have acknowledged that you have in the past had those moments, though you're letting yourself be human and you're letting yourself heal from that stuff. And you're coming to a place where you're like, you know what, I did have a lot of feelings about that, and I do, though I'm comfortable with things as they are. There are many adjacent doorways to which this can manifest, and for other forms of happiness to manifest, that I think that you are becoming an example to those around you, most especially, let's say, that hermit becoming the Knight of Pentacles. Like, they're kind of dipping their toes in. They're coming out of a nighttime ceremonial dance, so to speak, and really going, oh, this is sunshine. And like, it hurts my eyes a little bit because it's been in the dark cave for a very long time, but I also feel the warmth on my face. It feels like that's significant, in that maybe somebody who's been very cold for a while is going to start to warm up. And I think in general, we're all going to start feeling a bit more warmth, with the exception of those who need to heal in that way. And I think that we're all kind of detaching ourselves from those who are not warm. That's funny. The new song on the radio now is Emotion, right? All right, so let's do for Aries, the star of the show right now. Aries, you have 6 of Pentacles. Hello, Hope. Let's see, 6 of Pentacles. So this is about power exchange, and it's also about charity to a certain degree, and it's about choices. It's kind of, it's related to the Lover's card, which is also a 6 card. And it's like, where are you putting your energies? And we got the Libran scales in there too. To some degree, this can also be like, it's one of the kinky cards in terms of like dom sub sort of things, but that can also be a dynamic that is not healthy. There's a difference between a dominant personality and a domineering personality. And there's also a difference between being just naturally dominant and assertive versus feeling like you have to be dominant and assertive, and then like, you can tell the difference between somebody who's just naturally like that, and it's not about power and control, that's part of their personality, and somebody who is like that because they're trying to gain something, they're trying to look like the more pitiful one. To in fact, that Aries, for you, I mean, if whatever your strong placements in Aries are, it feels like you may be seeing that one of these is that Venus flytrap. And it makes sense with the Libran scales in there, that feed me, Seymour, feed me. If you've been in a situation where you've been giving and giving and giving, and the only thing that's growing is the greed, well, that's going to be illuminated for you in this dragon skeet energy, which I think really it extends at least until the switch over into Taurus, so on 420. I think that's going to be really significant, maybe even to 421. But that's what this is going to highlight for you. And so if you're watching for somebody who has Aries placements, that'll be a highlight for them. Definitely with the Knight of Pentacles in there, we're seeing a pattern on Pentacles. So both groundedness, emotions, and coin or quaint. All right, Taurus, the Hierophant. Funny enough, it's one of your cards. This is about higher commitments. It's about spiritual teaching. It feels like it's quieter energy at this moment in time. Kind of like, well, I think for some of you with strong Taurus placements, it's going to be kind of a hermit-like time for you, although not necessarily antisocially. It may be that when you come across situations where you would typically act first, that you are going to pause and think about things, that you're going to just think about what it is, and people are going to notice this, and you may be an important head of household or head of your family or head of community, or it may be that you're dealing with somebody who is in that position. And yes, the Hierophant can have to do with marriage. I'm not feeling like this has to do with I mean, it could for you, but I'm not feeling like this has to do with like making a commitment. It feels much more like it has to do with commitments already made. Well, let's say on the bottom you have the 5 of Pentacles. It may, you know what, for some of you, it may be somebody walking away from a marriage or a higher commitment of some kind, or I want to say it's a good time if you have a minute to look into where you may be leaking energy, especially in how you are giving. And the Hierophant, in terms of that feed me, Seymour, feed me energy, can be one of those to where maybe you've gotten into a teaching position or a family position. Maybe you are a person who provides, and it's that you need to look at the situations that you're providing. And it feels like because the Hierophant is an upright, whatever it is going to be it'll be good. It's like you're resetting your power, and you're doing it in a calm, mature way that is very spiritual even. And so you've got a higher power backing you. You have a higher commitment with spirit, and so things are going more in your way. And right underneath the 6 of Pentacles is the 9 of Cups. So it may have to do with a single male, or somebody getting single, or somebody who's like held on to a lot of options, but they really want that one cup. Maybe you had to leave them behind or not talk to them so much. It doesn't have to be a male, but somebody who's been in masculine energy. Let's see, I'm gonna reshuffle again. We'll pull up some some Gemini energy for Dragon's Gate. Thank you, one card. Geminis. that Hierophant like jumped out and then put itself back in there. So maybe there's some connection there. Well, all right. Interesting, Geminis. You got the Six of Swords, which is good in a way. Well, I'm going to say it's good either way. It's good no matter what. There are no bad choices. Though this is typically a card of travel and movement away from emotionally difficult. You know what I'm thinking about is like it's if you had a boat and you were trying to push it through a swampy area that had a lot of tree stumps and moss and it really wasn't very deep, but you had to get through that in order to get to the open waters and you were trying to travel away from it. Well, it feels like for some of you, either you or someone else you know of is like they're moving. There's a lot of movement energy, but it feels like okay. The card on the bottom now, Fool in reverse. So it feels like somebody got into a situation by making a foolish leap. They were probably very naive and very immature, and they trusted a situation, likely with someone they thought was an empress, and it really turned out they weren't even really into the royalty cards. They were on the pip cards, which isn't a bad place to be. It just isn't where you or the person in question wanted to be. They wanted to make quick progress. They wanted, yes, they were willing to do Knight of Pentacles if they needed to, but they really, or you wanted to go faster. Thank you, Laura. But they wanted to go faster, or you wanted to go faster, and whoever it was in there, they're like, look, they're not even helping push the boat. You know what I mean? And so it's likely a situation with somebody who's been managing things, and now like his clothes are tattered, and he was hoping that by that now he would have multiple options on clothes, or she. But it seems like Gemini, whatever it is, it's leading to healing. Though there might be some travel away from various thoughts, because swords typically are most connected to thoughts, and so there's a lot of thinking, like healing thoughts, moving away from old loops and cycles, getting yourself into a different space. But for some of you, it may actually be travel. Like if you are a Gemini, you could be seeing that you are traveling, or somebody around you is traveling, and you'll probably already have seen some themes going on about with yourself or with somebody else that can indicate that this is happening. All right, let's see here. Who do we have next? Let's see. Aries, Taurus, Gemini, Cancer. All right, one card for Cancer. Come here, you. Thank you for one card for Cancer. We have like little groups of cards that are popping up, which is interesting. There may be a number of things happening for Cancerians in this Dragon's Gate energy. Thank you for one card. Cancerians for Dragon's Gate. Okay, interesting. 7 of Wands. So, to me, this is very much an energy of fighting the dragon, right? And wands typically are related to the element of fire. So, if you think about him as like, he's got all this fire coming towards him, all these words, all these thoughts, all these people, and it feels like he's being attacked and he's got to defend himself. Now, he's got the high ground, so he could definitely fend off, those sticks and that fire to a degree, but he's still kind of stuck there. If he stays up there, he's stuck up there. And there's only a little bit of water, and there's not even any cloud coverage from the sun. It's very Icarus-like, you got too close to the sun, and now your feathers are melting. And what are you going to do? Are you going to stay up there? This may be you, or it may be somebody else, but it's funny, that's a new interpretation for me, but I'm really feeling like, to a large degree, this is the energy of removing yourself from the pedestal and others removing you from their pedestals, because you can't, you could stand up there, you could do that, but that's going to take all your time. There are a lot of wands up there to try to fight. Why do that? Why spend all your time doing that? This is also the energy of those who are holding healthy boundaries. And so you Cancerians, you may be holding healthy boundaries, and or you may be faced with others holding healthy boundaries, or at least trying to. And I think it's also the energy of recognizing when our boundaries have become, they become too porous and they become too strict in certain places, and kind of a rebalancing of that. It's a communication card too, so it may be something that you'll be talking about. And in your shadow card position, you got that Three of Cups there. So there's a little bit of reunion type energy, friendship energy, things like that. We'll see how that is highlighted. There, your dragon cancers is somewhere in there, or if you're looking for information on someone who is a Cancer, that's where their dragons have to do with is defensiveness, boundaries. I think boundaries more than anything, and especially communication boundaries. And I think that that card also really feels like that whole, like when you let things, when you procrastinate appropriate actions, when you procrastinate not picking up the pen and writing to somebody, when you don't communicate or when you over communicate, then you end up with like this mountain of people you need to talk to and things you need to do, probably a lot of things you need to apologize for, and it seems like a lot. Really, it's not. If you take one wand at a time, you could do it. Feels like that's your dragon, Cancer. I think I'm gonna start calling it that. So Leos, let's see, what's your dragon, Leos? Oh, Two of Swords in reverse. Kind of silent treatment. Putting yourself in situations where you're only seeing things as like black and white, splitting, which is another pedestal thing. Um, I think this is the dragon for you, those with strong Leo placements, or if you're looking for someone who is got strong Leo placements. It's like if you find yourself trapped in situations where you don't know what the right thing is to do because you're thinking about it's either this or that, then stop and step back and find the third way, the fourth way, the fifth way. There are other ways to deal with it, and then stop putting yourself in situations where you only feel like you have one of two options. And I think also, well, this is a third party card sort of thing, but it's also about like cutting off the things that do not feel intuitively right. Whether you know they are or they're not, like, and it doesn't have to mean like complete endings. It's only a two, it's only a pip card, but like definitely when it, it's following your intuition, your heart over your head in that sort of thing. And you only have a couple of thoughts in there, and once you find that there are more than just one or two ways, it's easier to sense that, to go, okay, there are other ways that this could go, there are other ways I could say this, there are other ways I could do this. It doesn't have to be this or that. And you have your own card in there, Leo, so that's not too bad. Whatever it is that you're facing, your dragon will help you have some fun. Alright, let's see. Oh wow, that one just jumped right out there. Virgo. Queen of Swords. Ten of Wands in reverse. I think most of this is about communication, but it's also about self-discipline. Either you're dealing with somebody who's very Queen of Swords energy, air sign energy, and is very much like I heard the other day, I like this interpretation, is like the King of Swords is not an attacker. The Queen of Swords isn't per se an attacker, but she's like a cat caller. You know what I mean? She'll be sitting there going, "Come on, you coward, coward." Queen of Swords reverse, she'll just start stabbing you without warning. Like, you don't even know half the time what's going on, and if you piss her off, she stabs you. Whereas the Queen of Swords, an upright, would be like, they'll call you out on their fears, or on your fears, and be like, I know you're afraid of this. Why are you afraid to talk to me? Come talk to me. Why aren't you coming to talk to me? And she's like, but if I'm going to call you out on not talking to me, but if you come at me and you don't come at me correctly and recognize that I am the queen, I will cut you. That sort of thing. It feels like either you are in that energy, Virgo, or someone else is in that energy, and you're really likely recognizing that, yes, it's not great to be in that like cat calling, egging it on sort of energy. However, you probably also recognize that it is okay to feel upset when you've been disrespected and mistreated. And so it's kind of, I think that's your dragon right now, Virgos, is that energy of like, yes, you know, either you've been wronged or you have valid reason for holding your sword up and hiding half of who you are. And yes, it's good to have boundaries in your thoughts and words and things like that, but what is it that you're going to achieve in the call outs, in the calling to the carpet, in off with her head moments? Like, are there better places you can invest your thoughts, that you can level up, so to speak, to the King of Swords, to where yes, you know, you can protect yourself anytime you need to, so you don't need to plan anything, you don't need to catcall, you don't need to attack, none of that. You can just go into each situation knowing that it will help constantly figure out how you're going to say what to who. You're just going to know in each moment because swords are connected to intuition. All right, Librans. Let's see what's going on. What's your dragon? Oh, all right. Well, that's too many cards there, so I'm not going to take those, but kind of like cancers in there, like little groups of things popping out. Oh, all right. We have the Two of Wands over the Page of Swords. So, Libra, you may be thinking about travel. And I have, whenever I see this card, I think of that song, I got the whole world in my hands. I got the whole wide world in my hands, right? And it feels like you have, like, okay, it feels like for those of you that are Libran or who just feel called to this, there's somebody who has been in this like waffly, juggly space, especially communication wise. They've likely been hot and cold, back and forth between passionate communication and no communication, and they may even have seemed like they have made a different choice. Than to have a healthy communication with you, or you have chosen to do that, and it may be that you're appearing to do that to somebody else. But the truth is that they have their hand on that one for a reason. They have not cut it off or wrapped up the strings or allowed the staffs to be laid down, because they've chosen. They've already chosen. You have already been chosen, or you have already chosen them. And it's more thinking about what the world will think. It's kind of those thoughts about what will everybody think. And especially if either you or they have spoken inappropriately, vented more than praised, shall we say. It may be that they need to do something brave, or you need to do something brave. It's also a good time for journaling and really examining your thoughts, taking that pause to think about who you are, who you've been, who you want to be, things like that. You're right. Scorpios. Let's see what their dragon is. Ooh. Oh, interesting. That one popped right out. Seven of Swords on top of the World reverse. So Scorpios, your dragon may be your dragons may be about manipulation, and also about strategy. It can go both ways. In fact, you know, I don't know why I didn't think about that before, but and oddly enough, this version of Michael Bublé's Home is bringing it into my mind that like there's always two sides of a coin, and on one side of this one is manipulation, and the other side is strategy. And you know, I think sometimes we get caught in this, like, we see someone else and they're doing things that are strategic, but we think that they're being manipulative. And usually then we look at ourselves and we think, well, I wasn't being manipulative, I was being strategic. So we tend to do that with each other. But this card also is about, it's about looking back at the past. It's about trying to sneak away with more than what is yours. Or, and I think to some degree, it can also be about rescuing what was yours. Like, say you had an abundance of something and it was taken from you, and so you went and took it back. And this is one of the only cards with a circus in the background, so somehow, Scorpio, your dragon is in a circus. Or the person that you're waiting on, their dragon is wrapped up in a circus, has been wrapped up in a circus, and it may be that this is you know what? It may be that you are getting firmer in your thoughts and your boundaries about somebody who did do this a whole bunch, and you're just gonna let them, like, oh, go ahead and carry away all those swords. Awfully heavy by yourself, don't you think? You know, that kind of thing. Like, go ahead and do it. But you also probably recognize, because this is here and this is here, that you see the cycles, you see the things going on, and so your strategy should simply be, you know what? I'm getting the sense that this is kind of this, like, know your worth. Like, this character could also be you, and it's not even that it's bothering you to hold those swords, because you've earned those swords, you've worked up the muscles for those swords, you didn't take the swords from anybody, they were your swords, and you recognize that you have that worth and that you can walk away with them, and it's okay if nobody follows you, if nobody else sees the worth. You know the worth of those swords. And I think that for you, Scorpio, it's about recognizing that you have that value and that you can walk away with that value, and then just having faith that the right people will also see that value. And because you're getting into that lesson and really holding that lesson, you're probably going to see those that have been manipulative and sneaky and slow and wrapped up in circuses are going to see you in a new way. But I think for right now, the dragon is simply sitting in that kind of hermit-like energy and not feeling like that's a sign that what you want and what you know to be true isn't manifesting. All right, Sagittarians. Let's see here. Some of the kinkiest individuals I know. I tell you what. The Fool reversed. Interesting. On top of the Death card. And, okay, all right. So what I'm getting the sense of, Sag, is that, well, I want to say either you foolishly ended a situation, not in a like a you're bad for ending it, but you ended it prematurely, or you didn't look for all the ways that you could have, like the third way. You may have gotten caught in that black and white thinking, or the other timeline is that you were with someone who was being foolish and naive, and you had to allow an ending to occur rather than forcing one. You kind of just allowed the fool to walk off the cliff, and you're like, I already told you like how many times that if you didn't look down, you were going to walk off that cliff. And also, you know, because you're kind of like the dog in that, like, I barked at you, I growled at you, I nipped at your heels. You didn't want to listen, so bon voyage. Yeah, you know what I mean? I'll catch you when you figure out how to swim back around and get up here on this cliff where I am, because I'm not riding down there just to hold your hand on the way back up. You should have listened in the first place, you know? I don't know, it feels like that's kind of the energy, Sag. And maybe it is that you're looking at how you have gotten wrapped in with people who are in that immature energy, and you're just kind of releasing them. That could be your dragon. Maybe you've got some stuff going on with codependence, with being the helper for everyone, and it's just time to give yourself more focus and more energy. All right, fellow Capricornians, let's see what our dragon is. I almost feel like I don't want to know. But the truth is, we usually already know. Tarot readings like these for everybody is like, you already know. You're looking for confirmation, not for new answers or new things coming in. At least most people aren't. Most people are looking for confirmation of what they already knew to be true. Okay, I guess we want a little thicker of a reshuffle here. So we'll do that. Thank you for one card for dragons for Capricorn. Oh, wow. That Queen of Swords wanted to pop out there. Maybe have something going on with that. Oh, okay. Temperance reversed. Not our favorite things. Well, actually, you know what? You know what I'm getting the sense of? So, in upright, it's about patience, right? Patience, time, take your time. It kind of feels like that energy of, like, just take the cups and pretend to be like a kid in a bathtub, and, like, learn how to get back to that space where you're just enjoying the water pouring from one cup into another. But then when you get to a certain point, especially as us Capricorns, we tend to have a bit of an ADHD thing going on with us. Think of a goat, you know? Like, we don't want to just stand on the roof the whole time. We don't want to just chew on one thing. We want to taste everything. We want to eat everything. We want to play on everything. We want to stand on it. We want to roll off of it. We want to push other people off of it, you know? And so being in this energy all the time is like, I don't want to do this anymore. Even if it's for a thing that you want, you know, if it's taking forever, you're like, I don't wanna. And so it feels like, to some degree, that's the dragon that Capricorns are really looking at facing right now, is that, like, delayed gratification is one word that comes to mind. And it's like, Capricorns are really good at delayed gratification. For as much as I just said we don't like it, we're really good at it. We're really good at it. In fact, being patient, we are patient to such a degree that it can annoy the shit out of other people about how patient and self-disciplined we can be. And it's kind of a superpower, because in our life themes, especially if you have Capricorn Sun, we had to be patient. We weren't allowed to be our playful little goaty selves. And it feels like that's kind of what this is saying, is like, you know what, you could, yes, Capricorn, you have everything you need to keep being patient, to playing with the water, you know, keeping your pretty dress on, or you're keeping your clothes nice, and only putting your toe in even though you want to get in and splash in there. Or you could stop waiting. You could stop waiting. You could get out of that waiting energy and have fun. You could take the gown off, either keep your wings on or hang them up for a while, and you can give in to temptation a little bit, and warm yourself up, because, like, on the bottom now we have that again, we have the Five of Pentacles. Like, you've been cold. It's likely that somebody else left you out in the cold, or if you're watching for someone's Capricorn, it may be that they were feeling left out in the cold for a certain situation where they've been very, very patient, or you've been very, very patient. And I feel like that's still part of the theme of the dragon for this, is like, there's something that you really, really want. Not just wanted. I mean, that may be some of your vocabulary now. Like, I wanted that. It may even be like, I wanted it to manifest this way. I wanted it to be a reward for my patience. I wanted it to be a reward for my beautiful spirituality. But I'm okay settling for it not being from that. I'm willing to settle for it being delayed, for it being for a detour, for an adjacent doorway. I guess I'm okay with taking another pathway, because there's another, you know, there's a path in there. And I think it might also be with, like, Capricorn. I think we often try to jump too quick into new things. I think that was part of the overall theme too, for everybody, is like, just, you don't have to jump from one thing to the next. Like, if you're feeling lonely and you've done a lot of work on, like, you know, being an individual, being independent, things like that, and you're ready for new interactions with others, it doesn't mean hello, Kentucky. Yeah, right. You see the Cancer relation. It feels like you don't have to jump right into a whole new thing. You don't have to. You can, and because of this, it does feel like there is something that Spirit is having you slow down on. It's having you wait a little bit. There is some sort of a delay in some sort of situation that you want, and because the overall energy of Dragon's Gate is very relational, I'd imagine it's a person that you've been waiting on, probably to get out of victim mentality, and to get out of being stuck in like 3D thinking effectively. And so your decision during, you know, I think this is what's really going to be coming into your mind, Capricorn, is, what are you going to do while you wait? You know, you kind of get into this dichotomy of, you cannot be in waiting energy, because then you're holding things out of place. So if that's the only rule that you have, and you can do anything else that you want, you could work on your pentacles, you could work on your spirituality, you could work on your family, you could work on you, whatever you want. What are you going to work on? And how many things can you find that you joyfully enjoy doing while that other thing is ripening? Getting out of that, stop watching for the pot to boil sort of thing. Just allow it to happen. Just walk away and do something else. I'm not endorsing smoking, but go outside and have a smoke if you got them, or breathe in fresh air if you're lucky enough not to be a smoker. Whatever it is, go out and enjoy something. You know, it doesn't have to be a giant adventure. It doesn't have to be a giant leap. Dip your toes in somewhere else. See how you feel about it. All right, Aquarians. Let's see what your dragon is. Oh, how many cards we got popping up here? Too many. Too many. I think this is just showing, too, that there's lots of littler dragons. I think this is more pointing out, like, what's one that you're definitely going to notice that you can definitely work on during Dragon's Gate. Okay, we got one. Thank you for making that clear, Spirit. Knight of Wands. Interesting. And the song coming on the radio is Patsy Cline's Crazy. Crazy for feeling so lonely. It feels like, for you Aquarians, or those of you with strong Aquarian placements, that you may be feeling that, and it's kind of leading to this passionate energy where you're like, I want more. You're feeling the Aries energy. You're like, I want to have romantic conversations. I want to rush in and be nearest to my dearest one. I want commitment. That's right in the bottom there. It may also be that somebody may be coming towards you who is coming out of a commitment. If you're not an Aquarius yourself, then somebody who is who's got strong Aquarius energy. And it may be also that, like, you're rushing away from a committed situation because there's no passion in it, or it's too passionate, things like that. But it's very immature. I'm actually going to leave that there. And you can go with that. All right, last but certainly not least, Pisces. Let's see what your dragon is for this Dragon's Gate. Oh. Interesting. 5 of Swords reversed on top of the 8 of Cups. You know, it feels to me, Pisces, like your dragon is really in allowing yourself 2 things. One, well, I'm going to say 3 things. One is to rest and relax after a big battle, big conflict. It looks like you're probably either you've gone through them or you're going to go through them. You might have a bigger one that comes up tomorrow, but you've gone through most of them. And the hard part after that is not egging on the fight again afterwards, letting the dust settle, letting yourself heal, and really examining your thoughts and how you helped to contribute to manifesting that situation. And then the other 2 parts is apologizing when it's appropriate for you to, and allowing people to come to you to apologize when it's appropriate for them to do it, no matter how much you want to kick it off, no matter how much you really don't care about if it's done right or wrong. Allowing it to come in, allowing your self-worth to grow in there. I'm seeing 7-7 on there too, so I think that's right. All right, y'all, I'm going to end this here. I hope that you enjoyed. I'll probably be back on to do some other videos soon enough, but I don't know, happy Dragon's Gate. Come back and comment occasionally if you feel like you're feeling some of these energies coming up, so that others can see they're not alone. All right, everybody, thanks for your likes, shares, subscribes. I'll catch you in the next video.